started pushing it. You're causing more problems.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Thank you all for coming today, this nice inclement weather. We love it, you know, and I know all the animals love it, and let's just celebrate it and be blessed. At this point, we'd like to start our November 21st regular meeting, rulemaking hearing. That's what it says here, rulemaking hearing. And I'll like to have roll call, please.
John Buffington,
Present.
Billy Smith,
Present.
Darren Woodgate,
Here.
David Swanson,
Here.
Ken Carazza.
Present.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Garland. We have a quorum. This time, would you like to stand and say the pledge of allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Cowboys, and all that hat. Let's move on to the approval of agenda. I'd like to make a statement that we do have a copy of our transcript in addition to our minutes from our past meeting. And at this time, I would like to entertain that we have a motion that the transcripts get amended, approved at our January meeting. So right now, we'll just be having a motion to approve our hard copy of the minutes that are in our book right now, and not the transcript part of it. Do I have a motion? Do you have any corrections or modifications? No. Okay, anybody else? Hearing none, I need a motion to approve the agenda. A second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, and approval of the minutes. As I made a notation about the minutes. Have a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
A second?
Whichever was, if I was second, I'll be second.
Okay, thank you, John. Thank you, Commissioner Buffington and Smith. Co-pair that approval. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We're going to move quickly through our meeting today. As you know, we have a rulemaking hearing, and it's a lengthy part of our procedure. I do want to recognize some people that are here with us, distinguished guests. We're happy to have them. We representative from Arkansas, Ms. Fran Kavanaugh. Would you like to be called Fran? Thank you. Thanks for coming. We appreciate it. She's making a tour to a lot of the regional states, and I'd like to say I did take a look at her bio the other day, and she's a hard-working legislator. So all the bills that she has proposed and passed, and I'm happy to have her here. She races in New Mexico and has an interest in supporting this, so we thank you for that. Representative Ezell, she was here earlier. Good morning. Thank you for coming. And have I missed anyone else? Thank you very much. I just wanted to make an announcement about the Rules of Mitigation Committee meeting. We will start next year. We are discussing whether or not we'll have it in January or February, but we will send a notice out. We're going to be really short-staffed at the, next year, hopefully not as short, right, Izzy? So we're going to take a look at that. We have a lot of things that we'd like to do, but as always, you can send your rule proposals into our office, and the sooner we get them, the better. I would suggest setting them by the end of December if we end up having a January meeting, and we'll get that information to you ASAP as soon as we've got it figured out. The other item that I'll mention quickly, yes, sir.
Madam Chair, I'd just like to discuss a couple of things from yesterday.
Okay.
We had a medication meeting yesterday, and one of the items that I brought up was that the racetracks have proposed changes to the rules about corticosteroids and injection times. There was some discussion about it. And then last night, the Racing Medication Consortium is going to advance those rules to the NRCI. You know, it's going to change that the NSAIDs can only be given 48 hours prior to a race, and the corticosteroids can be injected 14 days before a race. And I hope that that will be done in December and that we will have the rules in place by January. My second thought is that those flowers are for Rosemary. She's been here 30 years. I think it's 30 years. This is her last meeting. You know, I've been here on and off for 10 years. She's had to not only be doing her own job, but being a teacher. She has to teach the new directors, the new commissioners like myself that don't answer her emails, and et cetera, et cetera. And Pamela England, who's a friend of mine who used to work with Rosemary, said, you know, when she does something, it's done correctly and very well done. The next comment I want to make is that, you know, there was a negative letter sent to the governor about Rosemary and a couple of people on this commission, Fossey and Billy Smith. That was over the All-American. Whoever it was didn't have the guts to sign their name, and everything in that letter is basically false. I'd like to see them follow Rosemary around for a day. And Rosemary, I hope that you get on that motorcycle and ride around and enjoy yourself.
Commissioner Peraza. And, you know, for our next meeting, we will make sure that we have the Rules and Medication Committee report on the agenda. Need to add that on there whenever we have that meeting. And then I just want to say briefly, I know that there's a lot of things going on the national perspective right now, and many states are looking at reformations and how we can change the perception of our industry, what it is that we need to add. I've been collecting all types of information and suggestions and things that some of the states are doing, some of the tracks, most of them are not. But there's a lot of discussion, and that's where it is at this point. And I was just sharing with a couple of the commissioners this morning that what I'd like to do is just gather as much material as I can and put it together in a document, and I'll distribute it to the commissioners so we can start taking a look at what we think that would progress us. And moving forward, starting next year, we can start looking more seriously at how we intend our movement would be. As you know, there's a lot of things going on the national and federal level, so you know, we've got to take it all into perspective. So if you have any comments, you know, do not hesitate to give us a call. You know how to get a hold of us, and that's what we're here to, is to serve you as we were appointed to serve the people of New Mexico. Thank you. Moving on to 6 agency director reports. We have the New Mexico Horseman Breeders Association report, please. Ms. Barber.
Good morning. Mary Barber, New Mexico Horse Breeders. First of all, I'd like to say, Rosemary, we're real kind of miss you. Thank you for all the years and all the help you've given us over that time. So I'd like to go over our reports. Hopefully they're in front of you for Zia Park. In their first 32 days of racing, they have run 140 New Mexico bred races. Of those, there's been 85 thoroughbred overnight races, 34 quarter horse overnight races. We have contributed a total of $533,500 to those races. They've had 9 quarter horse trials, 8 thoroughbred stakes, and 4 quarter horse stakes. Those were all the New Mexico Cup races, and our portion of those purses came to $965,000 for a total of $1,498,000 $500. This is $55,500 more than in 2018. They're averaging 4.38 New Mexico bred races per day, 93 thoroughbreds, 47 quarter horse races, and our plus 44 for the 3 a day. For their average field size, and this is after scratches, the thoroughbred average field size is 9.07. The quarter horses is 9.71. And that's for a combined total of 9.25. And this is quite a bit over the national average. And that is just New Mexico bred overnight races. For the next report for New Mexico breds and open overnight races at Zia Park, in their first 21 days, 205 New Mexico breds have run in open overnight races. Of these, 65 have come in first, second, or third. I believe there's 17 that were winners, and that is 32%. 31 thoroughbreds, 34 quarter horses, and we contributed $72,637 for those horses. And that concludes my reports. I would like to let you all know that I'm working diligently to get our award checks out, and they should go out on Tuesday if all goes as planned. We are about $100,000 more than last year. The total will be $3.9 million.
This is award incentives.
Yes, the award incentive checks, they go out once a year.
Thank you, Ms. Barber. That's so nice to hear that we have a breed association that rewards those who invest in our state horses. I'm so pleased to hear that. Thank you all for all your hard work, and I hope your office has a happy holiday.
Well, thank you. You too.
Okay, could we have the Jockey Skill report, please? Mr. Beach? I always feel like saying, I think we should say beach, beach, beach.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners, and staff. John Beach, Regional Manager for the Jockeys Guild Incorporated. First of all, I'd like to thank Rosemary for all she's done to help me out through the years. She's been a lifesaver for me, and I hope she enjoys her retirement. Number two, today is Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Day. The jocks throughout the United States are wearing a purple armband for the severity of pancreatic cancer. And so, getting to the report now, the Downs at Albuquerque is, I jumped ahead, I'm sorry. On Zia, we're hoping they have a great next week coming up for all the big races for their stakes and that. And everything's been going quite well there. I've had no complaints from anybody down there, which makes me happy. And on the Downs at Albuquerque, the AQHA Challenge, I'd like to thank Mr. Cook and the Downs at Albuquerque for all they did. They made it turn out so well and accommodated everybody there. And the track was in perfect condition for the races. After the layoff, the jocks room was in perfect shape. Everybody was happy and everything was nice and clean and working very nicely. And that's all I got to say,
Okay, thank you, Mr. Beach.
except for one more thing.
Yes, sir.
I just want to wish the commission and everybody here very happy holidays and a very safe holidays.
Thank you so
Thank
much. Safe travels.
Thank you.
Who was your boss that was with you at that quarter horse challenge?
Terry Meeks. He's Terry Meeks. He's the national managing director.
Oh, he is?
Yes, sir.
It's nice for him to come.
He's been getting very much involved in quarter horses lately. So
Good.
I was glad to see that. Thank you.
We need that telephone number, Mr. Beach.
Pardon me?
We need his telephone number.
I'll give it to you.
Okay, thank you. The New Mexico Horsemen's Association report, please.
My name is Jay Rader, President of the New Mexico Horsemen's Association. I'd like to just say that we have we're still working with Sunland on the contract, and we're working with them on that. And I'd like to introduce our new executive director, Richard Earhart, here. Say something?
Good morning, Madam Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Richard Earhart, and I'm very pleased to be back in the great state of New Mexico and to be a part of racing again. Just a bit about my background, if you would like.
We would love to hear it.
Yes, ma'am. In addition to my career in racing, and I'll address that. Thank you, sir. I'll address that shortly. My background is in public education administration, dispute resolution, and conflict management. And to that end, I was the assistant superintendent of schools for the Coronado Unified School District in Coronado, California. I retired from that position where I was the chief student services officer and the chief compliance officer for that district. Retired after a period of about 30 years in 2016. When I retired, I opened up a practice as a professional neutral, Richard Earhart and Associates. I'm the principal of that firm where I provide mediation, meeting facilitation, and professional development opportunities and training for public agencies. In addition to that, one semester a year, I teach a course at the University of Southern California Gould School of Law in dispute resolution. All of these skills I bring back to the state of New Mexico, where I started my professional career in 1982 as a race plater at Ruidoso Downs. And had I not been there and had I not had the support of the horsemen in New Mexico, I would not have been able to further my career, gain my education, and do what I've done. I'm very pleased to be back here in New Mexico and to be taking this position as the executive director for the New Mexico Horsemen's Association. I would just like to say, Rosemary, be careful what you wish for in retirement. I am busier now than I've ever been. And congratulations, ma'am. And thank you very much. I look forward to working closely with this commission, and if anything I can do to assist, please let me know.
And same here.
I do.
We all wish you well. We'll all 5 of us want to work with you.
Perfect.
Anything that you need, we're happy to support you. I do have a question. Have you all met this month, and when is your meeting in January? I mean, for this month in December?
Yes, ma'am. We met yesterday, as a matter of fact. We will have no meeting in December, but we will meet again in January.
Thank you so much. Welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any questions?
Really appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for all your hard work too. I know you picked up a big load there for a while.
Thank you.
Okay, Izzy, would you like to do your report?
Sure. Yes, Madam Chair, members of the commission. First off, I'd like to welcome Mr. Richard Earhart to New Mexico, back to New Mexico. We look forward to working with him as well. First off, I'd like to introduce Ms. Denise Chavez. She's our new paralegal. This is her first commission meeting. She's at the end of the table and comes with roses. But I think she's already earned the nickname Superwoman. She's done quite a job so far in her first 3 years with the agency. We're very impressed with this measure here with the agency. She's working very closely and diligently with Rosemary. Rosemary's teaching her all that she can in the short period of time that we have left. I was going to save it for last because I didn't want to get teary-eyed. I mentioned congratulate Rosemary for all the help that she's been, not only to me, but to the agency and to the horse racing industry here in New Mexico. And I think she's gone about it in probably one of the most unselfish ways that I've ever seen in my entire working career as a professional in racing. And there are no words to express how much I appreciate her work ethic, her effort into building the team work environment that we needed at the agency that we have. And not only did I get that whammy, I got another whammy that Ms. Laura Valencia, our CFO, is September 31st as well. So we're going to have some big gaps in personnel here for a short period of time, hopefully. Hopefully we'll find some good people. We've got big shoes to fill, but nonetheless, I wish Rosemary nothing but the best in the most sincerest way. And hopefully I can be able to keep in touch with her. And she's just been quite the mentor when I first came on board here in New Mexico. So I thank you for everything, Rosemary. I'm done with the fluffy stuff. On to business now. I'm glad I didn't get teary-eyed there. I'm getting tougher. Anyways, We have EHB1 issue in Oklahoma. I've been working diligently with Penn National Gaming authorities in the state of Oklahoma and the livestock board here in New Mexico. We're planning to meet the day after this meeting with the livestock board here. We don't want to jump the gun too much and then shut down our stable gates yet. Information keeps coming in. At this point in time, we obviously have our big day on Wednesday at Zia Park with a lot of stakes races and handicaps. And we have pretty decent influx of horses intending to come from Oklahoma. So we certainly want to balance it, take every precaution we can, to protect our horse population here in New Mexico. But at the same time, we are being sure that we're acting on facts and not the rumors that are out there on social media. So there is a meeting scheduled today after this meeting with the livestock board here, where we will be in contact with Oklahoma to see how things have changed, as they allegedly changed last night for the worse. So the National Gaming will compliment Chris McElwain in on the ball last night with his team and the representatives in Oklahoma to not permit any horses coming from Oklahoma for the time being. But as I said, something more formal, a decision will probably come later on today as we get more information. So we're really keeping our eyes on that situation, fortunately. Next thing I'd like to talk about is the EQHA challenge races. What can I say? Tom Cook and his team put on quite a show that night. Approximately 9,000 people in attendance, quality racing, great crowd. And note, I think it might have been the first time I came to a racetrack where I didn't hear one negative thing. I think that was great. Everything went smooth. So compliments to Mr. Blanchard, Tom Cook, the entire team over there at Downs at Albuquerque. They did a great job, and I think that everyone had a great time there. I will be going to Tucson at the beginning of this month, in December, or next month in December, to go to the ARCI Global Symposium on Racing. As you guys realize, the landscape of regulation is changing almost on a weekly basis. A lot of new reforms are coming out. So we're certainly going to stay in tune with what's happening on a national level. And we can pick our spots to see what can work here. One thing that I don't know that would work here with quarter horse racing is the Category 1 interference rule. That's a rule that the majority of the rest of the world utilize in disqualifying a horse. We don't utilize Category 1 interference rules here in the United States, but the push is coming down on jurisdictions to implement it. It's up for discussion at the ARCI meetings in Tucson in December as well. Briefly, Category 1 interference rules say if the horse that gets interfered with did not have a chance, in the opinion of the stewards, to beat the horse that did the interfering, you leave it alone. Currently, the stewards have the ability to disqualify a horse if they feel the horse that got bothered was cost a better place, not necessarily just beat the horse that did the bothering. So I'm not sure how that will work in quarter horse racing when such minor issues can influence the outcome of the race, but maybe not the ability for one horse to beat the horse that did the bothering. So hope I didn't confuse everyone there for that. But nonetheless, it's something that we need to really keep an eye on, and I'm not sure that it would be in our best interest to pass a rule like that here in New Mexico. But nonetheless, the push on the national level is going to come. Back to the HOHA Challenge a week that we had here, served on a panel there with Dan Fick and Charlie Moore from the state of Wyoming. And we spoke before the panel of the HOHA Racing Committee. A lot of emotion in the room. A lot of people really want regulators to get harder and firmer with these bad doers. So, that's something that we've been working on for the last, I don't know how many years here in New Mexico. So I think as long as we pick our spots on what works for New Mexico, we should be in pretty decent hands. But nonetheless, I stand for any questions.
Any questions from the commission? Hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Trejo. I know you've been working very diligently this month. covered a lot of ground. We appreciate it. Okay. We're going to go ahead and get started with the rules hearing. It's really important when you address the commission during this period that you state your name and your title and do it as clearly as you can, as loudly as we can get it recorded for you. So we appreciate that. I would like to take a minute to thank the Rules and Medication Committee meeting. Since we've been here as a new commission, this committee, I can't say it enough, how much I've enjoyed working with them. They come prepared. There's some good, healthy discussion, and I think we've come about putting everything together as best as we can, and then we bring it to you and make it even better. There are things that we still need to tweak, so the public has an opportunity to participate in this rules hearing. Also, I wanted to make a statement about the public comment. It's outside for those of you that are new and aren't aware. Make sure if you plan to comment during public comment that you have signed that. And I'll be referencing an attendance sheet that we'll pass around and make sure that everybody is here, that's here today, has an opportunity to sign in and be part of this. Okay. The hearing will please come to order. I am Beverly Bourdain, co-chair of the New Mexico Rules and Medication Committee. I will be acting as the presiding officer for this rule hearing. The purpose of this hearing is for the commission to receive public comment on proposed amendments to the commission's current rules and regulations, which are 15.2.1 NMAC, 15.2.3 NMAC, 15.2.5 NMAC, and 15.2.6 NMAC, as well as 15.27 NMAC. The commission welcomes everyone at this meeting that's present today. This hearing is being conducted pursuant to and in accordance with the provisions of the Horse Racing Act, NMSA 1978, Article 60, Section 1A-4, subsection B1. Public notice of this hearing was advertised in the New Mexico Registrar. Copies of the proposed rules were available from the commission office and were also emailed to the persons who requested them. We have an attendance sheet. May I remind everyone to sign the attendance sheet, which will later be entered as an exhibit into the record of this hearing. With this public comment. Oh, it's should be a different one. Okay, we'll get everyone to have attendance sheets so that you all can sign in. Would the commission staff call the roll of commission members present for this hearing?
John Buffington,
Present.
Billy Smith.
Here.
Beverly Bourdain,
Here,
David Swinton,
Here.
Ken Coletta.
Here.
for the record, would the rules committee members please identify themselves?
Don Cook, President, Downs Albuquerque.
Lonnie Barber, Racing Director of Sunray Park, Casino.
Dustin Dix, Director of Racing, Sunland Park.
Tom Dontroff, New Mexico Horse Breeders.
Richard Earhart, Executive Director of the Mexico Horsemen's Association.
Jeff True, President of Ritos Fans.
Chris Mackerlane, International Gaming, representing Zia Park.
Ron Marker, Stewart, New Mexico Racing Commission.
Lisa Johnson, investigator.
John Beach, Jockey's Kill.
New Mexico Horse Breeders, Mary Barber.
Thank you all. Let the record show that Assistant Attorney General Delilah Tenorio, who is the commission's legal counsel, is present. Thank you. This is a formal proceeding that will be recorded. Anyone interested in a copy of this recording must make his or her own arrangements. In order to ensure that the proceedings are accurately recorded, only one person at a time will be allowed to speak. Any person recognized to address the commission is asked to identify yourself for the record each time you address the commission, and speak loudly and clearly so the recorder can pick up your comments. So we'll talk about the procedure. We will proceed with the proposed rule change. The New Mexico Racing Commission does not follow the rule of evidence, but shall, in the interest of efficiency, reserve the right to limit all testimony deemed irrelevant, redundant, or unduly repetitious. The decision as to whether such testimony is irrelevant, redundant, or unduly repetitious shall be made by me as the presiding officer. After a person has testified or offered comment, I will permit commission members to question that person. Any member of the audience wishing to question that person may do so after being recognized by me, the presiding officer. Each person recognized to speak shall identify him or herself for the record. Discussion on the rules by the commission will take place during the commission's regular meeting following the hearing. Final actions such as actual amendments, adoption, tabling, and so forth will also be taken during the commission's regular meeting. The hearing is now open. Exhibit 1, the proposed amendment to subsection of 15.2.17 NMAC, definitions beginning with the letter B, shall now be read into the record.
15.2.1.7 definitions, B definitions beginning with the letter B. Paragraph 7, breeder is the person or entity recorded by the National Registry Organization for a particular breed of a horse. We are striking owners of a horse's dam at the time of foaling.
Thank you, Ms. Garland. Any comments? Commissioners, any comments?
I move to ratify.
Second.
No, we can't do that at this time, but we are allowing, this is the procedure for comments.
Oh, just for comment.
Yeah, just for comments. Would anyone in the audience wish to say anything? Okay. We'll move on to Exhibit 2, the proposed amendment to subsection C of 15.2.38 NMAC Racing Secretary shall now be read into the record.
15.2.3.8 subsection C, racing secretary, under paragraph 2, we are amending A, the racing secretary or their designee shall be responsible for receiving, inspecting, and safeguarding the digital or paper foal and health certificates and other documents of eligibility for all those horses competing at the track or stabled on the ground. New subparagraph B, the racing secretary shall ensure that the foal certificate for all thoroughbred horses entered to race that were foaled in 2018 or thereafter have a digital tattoo. This digital tattoo shall indicate that the thoroughbred racing protected girl has confirmed the identity of the horse and uploaded updated digital photographs to the breed registry database.
Thank you, Ms. Garley. Would anyone wish to comment on subsection C of 15.2.3.8 NMAC Racing Secretary? Commission members, are there any questions? Moving on to Exhibit 3, the proposed amendment to subsection F of 15.2.38 NMAC Horse Identifier shall now be read into the record.
In 15.2.3.8 subsection F, under paragraph A, we are adding the words digital or paper. Further down, we're removing the word and adding the words or microchip ISO 117, free brand. And further down, after tattooing, we are adding the words microchipping, freeze.
Thank you, Ms. Garland. Would anyone wish to comment on subsection F of 15.2.38 NMAC Horse Identifier? Exhibit 4, the proposed amendment to subsection O of 15.2.38 NMAC Racing Veterinarian shall now be read into the record.
In 15.2.3.8, subsection O, racing veterinarian, we are striking the entire paragraph 4 and we are adding new verbiage that goes for A, B, C, D, and D.
Would anyone wish to comment on subsection O of 15.2.38 NMAC Racing Veterinarian? Exhibit 5, the proposed amendment to subsection B of 15.2.511 NMAC identification shall now be read into the record.
In 15.2.5.11 subsection B, number 3, we are adding the word "or" is digital tattoo.
Would anyone wish to comment on subsection B of 15.2.511 NMAC identification? Exhibit 6, the proposed amendment to 15.2.512 NMAC horses ineligible shall now be read into the record.
In 15.2.5.12 subsection A through C, we are striking and renumbering 1 through 26. We are adding under A, subsection A will begin, a horse shall be ineligible to start in a race when, in paragraph 2, we're adding at the end, the middle of the sentence, or in the case of thoroughbred horses owned in 2018 or thereafter, the horse doesn't have a digital tattoo. New paragraph 3 will say, if a quarter horse or thoroughbred owned between 2018 is not fully identified and tattooed on the inside of the lip, breed brand, or identified by any other method approved by the Breed Registry Commission. However, there may be extenuating circumstances where a horse will be eligible to start in a race without the tattoo as referenced above, as long as the horse striking identifier and actually correcting the spelling has written verification that the tattooing process has been initiated. If a thoroughbred foaled in 2018 or thereafter, the horse is not microchipped with a unique microchip ISO 11784, breed brand, or identified by any other method approved by the Breed Registry Commission. In new paragraph 4, we are striking the word "or" after certificate and adding the verbiage altered or manipulated microchip ISO 11784, or freeze brand. There are no changes in paragraphs 5 through 26. We will add a new subsection B, which consists of paragraph 1, A and B.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Carly. Would anyone wish to comment on 15.2.512 NMAC horses ineligible? Exhibit 7, the proposed amendment to,
Oh, sorry, yes. I believe there was a question in the first line. Is it to say a horse shall be eligible to start? Was that correct? Or is it in a different way that it's in?
If I may, Mr. Walker, is that the area that you pointed out?
No,
Okay.
no, not this way.
there's a different place. Okay, Exhibit 7, the proposed amendment to subsection C of 50.2.513 NMAC jockey requirement shall now be read into the record.
An amendment to 15.2.5.13 subsection C, paragraph 12, striking the word 7 and adding the word 5.
Would anyone wish to comment on subsection C of 15.2.513 NMAC jockey requirements? Exhibit 8, the proposed amendment to subsection A of 15.2.69 NMAC penalty shall now be read into the record.
In 15.2.6.9 subsection A penalties, we are adding a new paragraph, number 13. with subparagraph A, B, C, and D.
I did ask if would anyone wish to comment on subsection A of 15.2.69 in MAC penalties? Yes, Ms. Garland.
It looks like in the last paragraph D, it says level are listed in subsection B of 15.2.9, that should be 15.2.6.9.
Thank you for catching that. Good eye. Okay. Would anyone wish to comment on section C of 15.2.69 in MAC? No. Right, medication restrictions. Exhibit 10, the proposed amendment to subsection L of 15.2.69 NMAC, environmental contaminants and substances of human use, shall now be read into the record.
In subsection C, paragraph 8, subparagraph E, we are striking subsection M and inserting subsection L.
Thank you, Ms. Garland. Would anyone wish to comment on subsection C of 15.2.69 NMAC medication restrictions? Exhibit 10, the proposed amendment to subsection L of 15.2.69 NMAC, environmental contaminants and substances of human use, shall now be read into the record.
In subsection L, paragraph 3, D, we are striking the last part of that sentence, so it will end after plasma is removed.
Thank you, Ms. Carly. Would anyone wish to comment on subsection L of 15.2.69 NMAC, environmental contaminants and substances of human use? Exhibit 11, the proposed amendment to subsection O of 15.2.69 NMAC, new subsection multiple medication violations, in parentheses, MMV, shall now be read into the record.
This is a new subsection O, multiple medication violations, MMV, with paragraphs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Would anyone wish to comment on subsection O of 15.2.69 NMAC, which is a new subsection multiple medication violations, MMV? Exhibit 12, the proposed amendment to subsection O of 15.2.612 NMAC, veterinarians list, shall now be read into the record.
In 15.2.6.12, subsection B, the entire subsection was modified. We modified paragraph A, 2, and we added new paragraphs 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Would anyone wish to comment? Thank you, Ms. Garland.
Yes, I would. Madam Chair, Commissioners,
Yes.
Ron Walker, Stewart. Item B2 is in conflict with 15.238.04A, which we just looked at on item 4 today. Horses so entered are ineligible to enter. That's the way it should read. And we should strike out start in order to conform with the other rule.
Okay, Mr. Walker. Do we need a motion to approve that? No, we'll do it at the next, when we adopt it. Yes, any other comments, please? Would you please stand and be Mr. Gonchar?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, there's just a typo under item 3, second line. It says racing soundless, should be soundless.
Above it, below it, 4.
And Representative Eldon pointed out, following under 4, second line, should read from the list.
Oh, okay. Those notations. Any other comments? Exhibit 13. The proposed amendment to subsection P of 15.2.712 NMAC, Pentafecta, the super high five, shall now be read into the record.
In 15.2.7.12, subsection 2, paragraph 2, we're scratching paragraph and including 4.8. Further down in that paragraph, we're just scratching the word paragraph. We're adding under paragraph 8, unique winning wager option, A, subsection A, subparagraph A, B, C, D, E, F. We're renumbering the rest of the subsection, and in new paragraph 12, we are striking or by the prominently delayed at each level of the facility.
Thank you, Ms. Carly. Would anyone wish to comment on subsection P of 15.2.712 NMAC, Pentafecta, super high five? These exhibits are hereby now admitted into the record. We will now close the hearing. Has everyone present signed the attendance sheet? Is there anyone in here that has not signed the attendance sheet? We make sure that that sheet gets passed to them. Thank you. At this time, the attendance sheet shall be marked as an exhibit and entered into the record. And I'll talk briefly about the remainder of this process. The comments submitted and discussions heard during the rule hearing will be considered and discussed by the commission during the open meeting following the rule hearing. The commission will vote on the proposed rules during the meeting. Members of the audience are invited to stay. Any rules adopted by the commission will be filed at state records and archives in accordance with the State Rules Act and New Mexico Register publication deadlines. I would like to thank all the commission members and everyone else present for their participation and attendance today. The regular meeting of the commission will begin immediately following the rule hearing. Let the record show that this hearing was adjourned at 9:59 a.m. Thank you, everyone. This is a process that we go through for every rules hearing, for those of you that are new. Next item is our rules adoption. Rose, would you like to read each one for the rules adoption? Why do you do that?
I think what we've done in the past is you will ask for a motion or on each subsection, and then comments will be taken and then you vote on.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the first item is regarding rules adoption, subsection B of 15.2.17 NMAC, definitions beginning with the letter B. Ask for comments first, or a motion? Let's do a motion first. Okay. Do I have a motion from one of the commissioners to adopt what I just read?
So moved.
Motion and second. Any comments, discussion from the commission? Comments, discussion from the public? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Subsection C of 15.2.3.8 NMAC, Racing Secretary. Have a motion on the floor for adoption? Second? All those in favor say aye. Any opposition? For everybody. Okay. Motion passes. Subsection F of 15.2.38 NMAC, Course Identifier. Do I have a motion on the floor for adoption?
So moved. Second.
Any comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Subsection O of 15.2.3 NMAC, Racing Veterinarian. Do I have a motion on the floor to adopt?
So moved.
Second? All those, any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Subsection B of 15.2.511 NMAC, Identification. Do I have a motion on the floor for adoption?
So moved. Second.
Any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. 50.2.512 NMAC, Horses Ineligible. Do I have a motion on the floor to adopt?
So moved. Second.
Any comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Subsection C of 15.2.513 NMAC, Jockey Requirements. Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved. Second.
Any comments? All those in favor say aye.